For FY14, there's talk that the government might significantly increase its divestment target around the 40, maybe even 45,000 crore mark. Do you think there's appetite for so much government paper in the market?
I think the government in recent times has been pricing its issues better. And if it continues a policy of reasonable pricing for its issuance, the market can take it.
Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that we're also likely to see a lot of issues hit the market because promoters will need to meet the SEBI's minimum float norm. So there is going to be, and there's only so much of liquidity available and fair amount of paper in the next 4-5 months.
A lot of liquidity is available, but it's going into gold. So
you think this should be able to attract?
Therefore, if we can, in this budget, attract money to equities, it can solve a lot of issues for India, including the macro and current account.
What else would you like to hear from the finance minister this time around, Mr. Kotak, in terms of a broad policy direction? Because, like you've been saying, it's a tough job that he's got up his hand with growth slowing, inflation still sticky, the deficit concerns are still there, and he still needs to get people back in the market, needs to get people investing again. What could be that one magic trick that could, revive sentiment significantly?
I think the finance minister's commitment to discipline on the fiscal side, and at the same time being able to cajole Indian savers to get into financial assets and continue to make financial savings attractive are the heart of what he needs to do. And one is also wondering how he is going to balance the whole approach towards doing the right thing with the pressures of the polity. Mm-hmm. Which are bound to be there with being just 1 year away from an election.
As far as some of the measures that the government is considering to raise more revenue, which is also critical, are two taxes, both controversial in nature. They've been talked about a while. One is the tax on the so-called super rich. No one knows who is super rich or how does one define the super rich. And the other, of course, is the inheritance tax. Now, while there seems to be a philosophical case for both these measures, the fact is that both of them might not significantly help the government raise revenue, and in turn could also hurt sentiment of corporate India. Would you agree with that?
I think we really need to focus on increasing the taxpayer base. It is quite shocking that only 14 lakh individuals declare taxable income more than 10 lakhs of rupees. And if I recollect, only 5 lakh people declare taxable income more than 20 lakhs of rupees. Now this is a very small number for
a nation of 1.2 billion people.
For a nation of 1.2 billion people. And I would probably suggest it's time to focus on making sure that we are increasing the tax base rather than doing something which disincentivizes people to take entrepreneurial risks. What we need today in order to get back growth is people to take risks. And for taking risks, if they're going to have to pay disproportionate tax, it hurts the sentiment for taking risk.
On the expenditure side as well, do you like to see them work closer towards trimming subsidies, cut down on government expenditure? May not be a great thing to do.
But on that, I think the finance minister
has had his way, looks like.
And has demonstrated pretty well that he can cut expenditure significantly within a few months. So that's a big plus on the expenditure side, and I hope they continue down that path of making sure that wasteful expenditure does not happen.
What about the political risk, Mr. Kotak? Because obviously this is going to be the last budget before the elections next year. We'll likely to have a vote on account only in 2014. Do you think markets at one level are completely ignoring the political risk that lies ahead, the possibility of a fractured coalition which may not be necessarily good for economic reforms?
I think we are all pretty comfortable living with coalitions for a long time. And my sense is clearly 2014 is not going to have anything else but a coalition of some sort. The less fractured,
that's the problem, isn't it?
Less fractured the coalition it is, the better it is. But I think basically markets are ready to live with a coalition government over the next few years.
But if it's a significantly fractured coalition, could that hurt the interests of corporate India?
It depends on the mix. It's early days. One has to watch how the whole thing evolves. As they say, 1 week is a long time in politics. So this is at least about 6 months to a year before we really see any possibility of an election. Mm-hmm. So my sense is markets would be ready to take a call on the coalition provided the government of the day is continuing down the path of maintaining reasonable discipline and demonstrating policies which spur investment and channelize savings into financial savings rather than savings into gold and real estate.
So for 2013, do you think corporates and markets will take a cue largely from policy and what comes out of it, whether it is the government or whether it is central bank? Is that going to be the decisive factor?
I think it's going to be very critical. And how do you manage a tightening fisc, lower growth, and in that context, some policy support from the central bank in terms of loosening interest rates a bit, keeping in mind the broader fiscal and current account concerns.
It is a tightrope walk, and let's hope the finance minister does it well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For chatting with us. Thank you so much.